Hey everyone, I just want to make a follow-up video about the restoration of sanity, right-mindedness, and ordered thinking toward sex and the sex drive, sex instinct, and specifically how it applies to a person who is trying to overcome what could be thought of as a porn addiction, and really just any disordered sex, which is non-unitive, non-procreative, and after I made that video, I thought about it, and even mentioning the sex is inherently unitive and procreative. So to even say non-unitive, non-procreative sex is a bit of a misnomer because there's no way to separate the unifying nature of the sexual act. It's stamped in our being. Saint John Paul the Great's Theology of the Body. So it's when the disordered lust is this the act of sex without the intention of it being joining into oneness with the other person. I think about this not an analogy, but like kind of like an anecdote. I think of because we know in today we have this kind of a what can be described as a hookup culture, casual sex with no intention of oneness or of unity. A person, I could picture a young person, a young man going to a nightclub or a bar and flirting with a young woman, and there's alcohol involved, and the man's intention is to have to enter into sexual union with this other person, but not to enjoy to experience the pleasure of the sexual union without the responsibilities of a union. So in this scenario, like the man gets what he feels he wants, which is just that hookup, the one night stand, and the next morning there's a knock or a ring at the door, and he opens it up, and it's the woman that he had sex with the night before, that he either like snuck out right after or slinked off in the morning, because that was never the intention to wake up with this person. It was just have that experience and then get out of there. And then so when he sees her at the door, he's kind of startled a little bit and says, "Oh, hi, oh hi." Probably doesn't even remember her name. Not important enough to know her name, but okay to have sexual relations. And she's kind of like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, we consummated the sexual act, so we are one now. So I'm here to because I'm moving in. 5 minutes, the moving truck will be backing up in your driveway. And I want to make sure that there's enough space too, because I've been actually taking care of my elderly mother, so she's been living with me. So now that we're one, she's going to be moving in too, as well. And the guy's saying like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not what I signed up for. Well, it is what you sign up for when you have all sex is unitive. Like I mentioned, like there's like this idea of non-unitive sex is not accurate because it's inherently unitive, but it's the casual fornication, the casual hookups that are there's no intention of uniting, but you can't separate this. The sexual act is unifying, but when there is a separation, either through divorce or if it's just a casual, even saying it's casual, to say sex can be casual, again, it's the language that we use, but the two do become one. And if it's like the scenario of like a hookup, one night stand, then they separate, and what was made one gets torn back to two, which is damaging, which is harmful. which is why it's not a surprise when you hear when you see that people who are performing in they are sex workers, they are OnlyFans models, or in the industry, adult, they call it the adult industry. They're professional, but they're sex workers. They're having sex with several people on camera for money. They're prostituting themselves, and you find out that they die deaths of despair, so suicide, drug addiction, because they're constantly damaging themselves. But you don't have to be a sex worker to have anyone who has multiple partners. Every time they have another partner, they are doing serious damage to themselves psychologically and spiritually by causing that separation. Constant unifications tearing apart, joining together, tearing apart, joining together, tearing apart. It's damaging. So the restoration of sanity, like moving beyond just having blocks on your phone, is like what I said in the other video. That is, to an alcoholic, to be restored to sanity, they see alcohol for what it is to them. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and getting hurt and thinking, oh, I could do it again and I won't get hurt. No, every time you touch that burner, you're gonna get hurt. So a restoration to a sane mindedness is there is no, it's no longer necessary to block access to alcohol, because if that person is in the right spiritual condition, they've been restored to a sane state of mind where they know what alcohol is to them, which is they're not romanticizing, they're not fantasizing about the ability to drink, because they know what it is. They know it just causes harm. So they're as sane as a person. Like I use this analogy of, like, if I told somebody I'm having a hard time being alone in my house because I have a bottle of liquid Drano in my cabinet, and I have this craving to drink it. You'd say, like, well, you are not in the right state of mind. You need serious help. And the same restoration could happen through spiritual awakenings for the alcoholic. And what I'm saying is that same, the restoration of sanity for a person with a disordered sex drive, sex compulsion, is to get to that point where even it doesn't matter if it's available, it doesn't matter if they have devices that don't have blocks on it, they aren't going to have a serious craving to act out with lust. And because I'm talking so much about internet pornography, it's like, okay, that's just fantasizing. That's not actually the guy that's out there hooking up, but you're still drawn to the fantasy of it. You're playing the fantasy out in your mind of these people who are experiencing union with no intention for a oneness, and it's constantly being torn apart. So it's the restoration of sanity that's not appealing. And you're not even, like, you could go places, you could go to the gym, you could go to the beach, and you're not going to, I'm speaking as a man, you're not going to look at the body of another person in a lustful way, because it's like, that's not my wife. That's a person I'm not married to. So I don't want to be one with that person because I don't know that person. Same like that, like the guy who gets the knock on the door, like, wait a minute, I don't know who you are. You could, if I knew that this act would bring me into union with you, I would hold off. I wouldn't commit that act until I truly knew you. So that's the mentality. And there was again, I'm going off of the 12-step recovery model because I think it's a very effective explanation, and it's also that idea of that true liberation. And this is what it says about alcohol. We could switch alcohol with lust. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. The problem no longer exists for us. And this is the key. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. We are not cured. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. If we could switch that, I could reread that whole thing. I'll switch it from alcohol to lust and how we relate to not just internet pornography, but all ordering our sex instinct, our sex drive to only toward unity. And like I said, we could reread this as, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even lust. For by this time sanity will have returned. Sanity meaning only viewing sex as a desire for a oneness, which wipes out any thought or any struggle or any desire to masturbate, to view pornography, to even look at another woman, a person other than your spouse with sexually. We will seldom be interested in lust. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and this happens automatically when we turn our will and life over to God as we understand God. So this is, again, shorter than the last time, but I want to make these videos for any person who's struggling with lust, pornography, again, I'm not saying that the blockers are inefficient or not useful. They can be useful in the beginning, but we want to work toward that true liberation, which is that restoration of ordered thought and desire toward only sex that's unitive, which is between a man and a woman in a marriage.